How kiểu kiểu mình sẽ cho giấy vào trong một cái máy á, nó sẽ làm bánh khác.
Today I am here to prove to you one thing: newspapers are a thing of the past. So firstly, we would like to come to the definition. Newspaper, as we see, is printing press on the broadsheets. And as we say in the past, is something unsuitable for modern life. That's why we urge you today to cease production of newspapers. And now we come to three arguments that we're gonna develop today. Firstly, the wasteful of newspapers. Secondly, newspapers are environmentally harmful. And thirdly, there's a shift of preference of the readers or of the public, as you can say. Now I would like to come to the first argument. Firstly, newspapers are wasteful. As you can see, there are a huge amount of minerals and energy and money wasted during the production of newspapers. It takes time, and you have to waste a lot of papers and woods and use a lot of chemicals during the production of newspapers. So it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of money, and the production takes a huge amount of facilities to produce all of those newspapers. And so with the decrease in popularity of newspapers, this is a huge waste, because newspapers are going to stay in racks. Newspapers are not going to sell. So that's why they are a huge waste to society, because they just stay there and they don't do anything. People don't buy them. That's why they're a huge waste, because you take too many time to produce something that is not going to be in use. Then we come to the second downside of newspaper. So the second downside is it's environmentally harmful. Why? Because firstly, they stay in racks. They stay in racks, and people are gonna throw them away, but after they've used them. That's why newspapers become racks, become trash, and the chemicals that people use in newspapers are lead and carbon, and a lot of chemicals that I can't read, but all of those are multiple negative health effects on the people reading them and on the environment as a whole. Due to the use of outdated papers, like they use it to wrap sticky rice, or they use it as a burning tool to burn things, generally in Asia. All these chemicals will gradually affect the environment, and they will harm the people who are breathing air, like all of us. Another note is that the printing material are harmful itself. Like I've stated before, lead and carbon and other chemical stuff they put in newspapers, they are harmful to the workers in the factories, and later on they will pose dangerous effects on readers and buyers and consumers, and possibly everyone. So reading printing press is negative. It's harmful because firstly it's wasteful, and secondly it's harmful to the environment. So now we come to the third argument, which is this shift of preference, an alternative way for people to read news. So nowadays, as the 21st century, we have developed technology, and the technology enable us to use internet as a way of reading newspapers, as well as broadcasts on TV and other means. But why does people lose interest in newspapers? Because people want to choose what they read. The newspapers are the breadsheet, and they just give you this because they're limited on the pages that they are going to produce. That's why they're gonna the topics that they cover are gonna be restricted by pages. on the other hand, newspapers online can give you a lot of topics. They're not restricted by amount, and you can choose what you read. You can, too much is not always good. Like education in Vietnam, there are too many subjects that we have to read, that we have to study, but it's not necessary for us to do so. So we urge you to do something more reasonable, like shifting to another means of media other than printing press, which is something suitable for the modern life. This alternative of press, this online press, give you immediacy and speed and up-to-date news. Like articles in newspapers, they're out of date, they're obsolete. For example, we have Osama bin Laden's. His death was made it out to press a day late than his actual death. And it's also a convenience way for all of us to research news and to search for articles and related topics. And so yes, for all of those reasons, please vote affirmative.
I have some questions for you. The first one is, you say people don't buy newspaper. Are you sure?
It's not absolute. We still buy a
So we
little
still
bit.
have a need, right? We still have a need for.
But it's not
newspaper.
popular anymore, and that's why it's a waste.
Okay, but it's not popular. Doesn't mean it's not exist, right? Doesn't mean people don't use it, right? It's not popular. It doesn't mean.
But we're saying that it's negative, and people should not continue to do that because it's a waste. It's harmful.
So people should not do this. Which does it mean newspaper have a thing in the past when people are still using it? Is it really true to conclude that? Okay.
People are still using coins, but coins are not a thing that you should use nowadays anymore. Like in Vietnam, you use notes.
So what is the relationship between people should not use something between it is a thing of the past?
Which is not a thing of the past, meaning that it's not
Okay,
something
thank you.
suitable for us to use
Thank you
nowadays
for your answer.
anymore.
What are your criteria for a thing of the past?
That is something of old method and is not convenient to use nowadays.
Okay, so do you think that classical music is a thing in the past?
No.
No. Okay, but now do you agree that it's not popular now? Yes. It's common
It's
knowledge,
popular
right?
to people who like them,
Oh, okay. So newspaper it can be popular for the people who like them, right?
but they don't. It's not a good thing.
Okay, so how can you
Potentially
explain?
use them.
How can you explain that as a result, a survey of the Guardian, 76.1% of people say that they want to use newspaper more than they do to online newspaper, for example.
For example,
No, I mean 76.1% people still want to use newspaper.
people say it. I guess it's a trend that people
Oh,
say
so
that they
it's-
like it. They
so
say
it
they
is-
like it, but they're not
Thank
gonna
you.
buy it.
So is it popular for them, right?
It's not popular. Just you say you like Lady Gaga. I say
Okay,
Lady
no,
Gaga. But I hate.
Next question. Can you give some evidence that printing materials are harmful for the environment?
Like there are carbons, and when you throw them away, which is in large amounts, they're not easy to biodegrade, and that's why they keep on leveling the amount of trash in society. That's harmful.
So what about people can recycling the newspaper? So is there no more harm, right?
But it's
Okay,
good.
thank
It's
you.
better if you seize it.
Good morning, dear fellow debaters, the honorable judges, all the audience. I would like to represent the affirmative team presenting my speech. First of all, the affirmative team mentioned that newspaper contains something that is harmful for the environment and also harmful for the workers that are producing them. I would like to say that there are no there are no evidence, there are no specific evidence that stated that the chemicals contained in the newspaper are harmful. Second of all, you mentioned that newspapers are unsuitable for modern life. That is practically not true. They are still in use, they are still valuable, they are still being read by audience all over the world. So that they can no longer be unsuitable anymore. The wasteful of newspaper are something that is incorrect as well. People still use it, people still read it, so it cannot be considered harmful. They can still be valuable things. And the third things that I'd like to mention is the restricted topics covered by newspaper. The papers have only a few pages, so that they can cover only a few topics. But comparing to online news, they are deeper. Their analyses are more specific and more accurate. And of course, comparing to online news, newspaper can be recycled. The contents of it are more selective. They contain no spy. They can contain no advertise. They can contain no annoying spyware and annoying junk mail. So that people can be more comfortable reading newspaper. And comparing to online news, newspaper can provide a better reading experience. Researchers have shown that reading on LCD screens, on laptops, on smartphones, on iPhone, on iPods, they are very bad. They are very harmful for the eyesight. And of course, the Guardians in 2008 have also provided the research that 76.1% of the people prefer to read physical material, for example, newspaper, to the digital ones, for example, online news. Reading newspaper can be considered a leisure activities because they can provide a better reading qualities that online news cannot provide. And moreover, newspaper is more educational. It is more educational. It's more containing more materials that is good for us. And the negative thing I like to present the argument that the newspaper containing more reliability than online news. The newspaper are edited by professionals. They have a team of journalists that is paid. That is reviewed by also many other peoples before being published, before being printed. However, the online news, they are not. They are posted by unqualified. Some of them are unqualified publishers, and sometimes the online news provide inaccurate news. And also, newspapers are controlled by the authorities, are verified by authorities, so they can guarantee that the quality of the news published on printed material are correct. And also, the responsibility of the newspaper are so important. If they post something incorrect onto the newspaper, they are very, very in great trouble. That can threatening the banning of the entire newspaper. And also the very, very great examples of classical music. It existed long ago. It existed very long ago that people no one listen to. Very few people listening to it at the moment. But still, it is a great leisure activity that cannot be considered as unsuitable for modern life. So I'd like to conclude my speak as to conclude that newspapers are not suitable, are still suitable for modern life. That is still being read, that is still being used, and it's not the things of the past. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your very interesting speech. However, I would like to ask a question. First one, are you aware of the fact that nifluntamine found in print newspapers are not biodegradable and can be harmful to the environment? Are you aware of that?
Yes, but
next question, number 2. What source did you use to say that newspapers have really restricted topics and are deeper than online newspapers?
because it is the fact that the newspaper
So you mean that it is a personal opinion?
No, it is specific that newspaper are
Do
very.
you have a source?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Next
Yes.
question. You said that newspapers are more educational. In what aspects do you think that? In what aspect do you think that newspapers?
Because they
are more
provide
educational?
specific and accurate news. The accurate news are the most important that provide the greater facts for the people to
Are
learn.
you aware of the fact that inaccuracy can also happen in original traditional newspapers?
Sorry?
Are you aware of the fact that inaccuracy can also happen in traditional newspapers?
Yes, but they are very verified and they're controlled by most professionals. And if they provide the
Thank you.
they will post a.
Thank you. Are you aware of the fact that there are also supervisors for online newspapers?
But most of them no.
Can you name those papers? Can you name those papers?
Well, there are lots. Some newspaper
Okay,
that
thank
is
you.
go blog.
Next question. Are you also aware that reliable publishing houses such as the NY Times, the Huffington Post also have an online edition?
Sorry? Can you?
Are you aware of the fact that reliable publishing houses such as the New York Times and the Huffington Post, they have an online edition and the names of the journalists are printed on the article?
Whereas there are very few of the online newspaper, they're very trustful sources. They have printed newspaper, but they also provide them on the internet. That is something different. Some of the very few.
You said that normal newspapers do not have ads, do not have advertisement. Are you aware of the fact that many newspapers nowadays they use like 3 to 4 pages of full ads?
That was not meant by advertising. That was I meant was annoying advertising. They
You did
pop
not
up on the
say that
screen.
clearly. Next question. Are you also okay? Are you also aware of the fact that your example about classical music is not in the same criteria as newspapers, since classical music belongs in the criteria of arts and newspapers belong in the criteria of practical everyday things?
Well, that was provide some sense in the same situation that they transform from being performed in the churches, from performing in theaters
Thank you.
to being performed in a music player.
You got 30 seconds left.
Oh, 30 seconds left. Okay, last question. Are you also aware that publishing houses also have to be responsible for their online editions because their reputation can also be offended by publishing inaccurate news on their online editions?
That was not they care about, right? The thing they care about is how they got more people
How do you
looking
know?
at
How do you know what they care about? Are you the publishing houses?
Well, I know about them. That's my personal opinion. But they care about getting more people
So
look
you,
at their posts,
so you
they can
are
sell more
admitting
ads.
that you are giving personal opinions without sources.
That was not. Okay, so I'd ask first of all, you recognize the reliability of some specific newspaper, for example, is posting bad information.
Yes, there are bad information, but a lot of them are true, and also they are updating the hard truth of the society nowadays.
So do you agree with the statement that online news contains bad information?
It does, but
It does. Okay, thank you. So you have to the fact that New York Times produce both printed materials and online materials.
But as I stated, online newspapers of New York Times are much more popular than printing press.
Do you have actual evidence of that?
The New York Times itself, there's some subscribers, the amount of subscribers on online newspapers on the New York Times are larger than the printing press of the New York Times itself.
How much does an A device cost? How much does an A device cost? Ink, the electronic ink you mentioned in your statement before.
We're not certain about the cost, but the trend is that is going to take over the printing press because that is an advantage to the readers and viewers' help. So it's going to be utilized.
Which means how many people have access to the device? How many specific data? Do you have that? No? No, thank you. Do you agree with the fact that the harmful materials containing the ink, as you mentioned, are not exposed to workers because of the high technology they have in a factory?
Workers are exposed to these chemicals, and according to the YDA research I have mentioned before, 50% of the workers are subjected at least to these chemicals to a certain degree.
No. Thank you.
Câu hỏi đi, hỏi đi, bây giờ sao? Hỏi cái nào bây giờ? Kệ nào chưa báo được câu hỏi.
Câu hỏi đi. Không, nó starting.
Đinh câu hỏi tại sao này?
So, it means that if New York Times can produce the online news that is much more popular than the printed materials, why do they produce that both?
Because they want newspapers, printing newspapers. People still use printing newspapers. So the New York Times want to promote their sales. So they want to take the printing press as an addiction to the printing press they have.
So if they can profit so much from the online newspaper, why do they produce printed material anymore?
But they can still work, but they can still profit more from the addition of the printing press. So why not do that?
Of the thing that the LT have said. The first one that is really is the material making the papers really harmful. So they have carbon dioxide in the printing of newspaper. Okay, printing newspaper have carbon. We write pencil has carbon. Okay, we use carbon while we writing every day. That is the necessities. So are you saying that we are using carbon to harm ourselves in our daily routine, like writing or speaking or reading? Okay, the carbon we can use carbon in the pencil, in the drawing, and also in every book we are reading today. So it's not really harmful to us as they have said. The next one is that they say that using carbon while producing the newspaper are really harmful to the workers who are exposed to the carbon dioxide. But actually, due to the technology we have today, most of the industry we are making newspaper are using technologies, using machines. So the actual worker will not be exposed to the carbon dioxide or the harmful resources they are exposed to. And so, if reading online gives us the opportunity to choose what we want to read, choose the subjects we want to read, then the newspaper we are reading, we don't have that choice. We are accidentally have the knowledge we don't know. That's the great thing. We widen our knowledge. If reading the online newspaper, you only need read what you already know, or maybe enrich that knowledge. While reading the newspaper, you can actually discover something new, or something better than what you have already known. So, if they are saying that newspaper are a thing of the past, why people still use it? 76.1% of the Guardian's real newspaper readers still prefer reading papers rather than going to an online website, theguardian.com, to read the newspaper. Actually, they prefer to read on paper. For why? For the convenience they have, for the experience they gain from reading from the newspaper. They don't harm their eyesight. If you're seeing that e-books, e-inks, that help us decrease the possibilities of getting our eyes harmed, that how many people in this world, in this whole wide world, have enough money to buy Kindles, to buy the device to read in that kind of technologies? How many of us have that kind of money? Not every, but most of us have enough money to buy books, to buy newspaper, to gain knowledge to something that is much more simple, paper and carbon on paper. If 68% of people ask the results you have shown that are preferring reading online to the reading on newspaper, actually 68 of them, most of them, prefer that way because they have to pay. They go online, they pay little money for each month so they can go surfing on the internet. They read those papers for news for free. While if you buy a newspaper or maybe reading the New York Times on the internet, you have to pay. They prefer that. That's why 68 the people in this world prefer to read online rather than by actual paper to read. Moreover, if you are saying that the manufacturing of the newspapers are harmful to the environment, we can still recycle them. We can still recycle the paper. Due to the technology we have today, we can recycle old used newspaper to make them new. So in that, we have three main points that we want to express. That the first one is that newspaper and online paper can actually be coexisting. They do not contrast each other. They are mutually exclusive. Next one, we have the better experience when we are reading on paper rather than going online to read paper. And the last one is the that newspaper, they don't die, they adapt, they change through time, like classical music, they don't die. So if we change the newspaper in this way, we don't want to emphasize on the news we are delivering, but the knowledge through the news that we are delivering. That is much better. That's like another source for us to read, to gain knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. And I have a few questions. Are you aware that 66.7% of original newspaper readers, as you said before, 76.7%. Okay. So those readers, are they like just original newspaper readers, right?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
So all the 67% of readers that you said before, they're just original newspaper readers. They're the percentage of original newspaper readers who like to read original newspaper.
Actually, the Guardian survey on 2008, they actually asked like the Guardian's reader, their relatives, their neighborhoods. They asked as many people that entered the survey. The people who entered the survey are not all of them are originally newspaper readers.
Okay, thank you. So, are you aware that the layout of online newspapers are easier for people to click on and read all the varied topics?
No.
How come?
You can misclick and click on some harmful link to virusify your computer, destroy your
But are you aware
whole
that
website.
if you read original newspapers and you have, for example, science topics, and then people don't care about that, but as the layout of the online newspapers, there will be more useful topics that might catch the eye of readers, that might widen their knowledge, as you said.
What are you asking?
Is the layout of the online newspapers easier for people to access the knowledge that they don't necessarily care about?
Maybe.
Maybe that answer is
Maybe.
it's a yes.
That's maybe. Maybe
Thank
like
you.
50% no, 50%
Do
yes.
you like a product? Do you like a product more if there are more examples?
Products more examples like.
If there are more examples for you to try it in the store, do you like a product more than if you just know it by, one?
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
So that means if you have more choice, as in the internet, then you would care about something that you don't know.
If you have bad examples, you don't even ask questions. If you have bad examples, like you have raw egg, and then you have one good egg, would you like to buy the egg? Huh? Okay, if you read two unreliable newspapers.
Next question I want to ask you: if there are two existing eggs, but one of them is bad, so should you throw the bad thing away, or should you keep it?
You should throw it away. Actually,
Thank
If
you.
eat it, you have.
Thank you. So you should throw something that's not suitable for a month, by the way.
Actually, you have to.
Okay.
Hello everyone. I'm here again to present the sum up of our team's argument. Well, honorable judges, distinguished guests, and esteemed fellow debaters. First of all, the other team has tried to tell us that the original newspaper, the traditional methods of conveying news is deeper is deeper, is more informational, is more educational, and is better than online newspapers. However, the affirmative team does not agree with this statement for the following reasons that we have pointed out in our previous arguments. First of all is that in online newspapers, there are also supervisors, there are also moderators. The publishing house are also responsible for the news that they put up online. And so any inaccuracy and any misinformation, the publishing house reputation will be damaged. And that situation is also the same with original newspapers. And so in this case, I think that we can dismiss partly the case that online newspapers are less deep than original newspapers, as the native team has stated. And also, the native team have also stated that original newspapers have restricted topics, and they think that it is a good thing. However, we again disagree, because every news is good news. On online newspapers, you have a lot of sources, a lot of journalists offering different perspectives, and so you will have an overall picture. Whereas when you read a newspaper, you will only get the view of the editors, who can choose to leave out whatever he or she does not like. And that offers a very biased argument and very biased intake of information that can be harmful to readers. The second point that native team also attacked is that newspapers are not a thing of the past, and they use the figure that 66.7% of the Guardian's readers prefer newspapers to online news. However, we would also like to point out that 73.6% of the readers of the original newspapers are over 44%. Over 44 years old. And what does this mean? This means that the readers of newspapers are old, and as we know old people, then they do not adapt quickly to this technology. However, technology is changing, and we must cater to the generations that come now, which are the people that range from 18 years old to under 44 years old, the people who are actively working in the world today. And that is what we are trying to point out here in our previous arguments. And thirdly, I would like to conclude our arguments by pointing out that newspapers are harmful. They are environmentally harmful. They contain carbon, they contain lead, they contain nitrosamines, they contain aromatic and hydrocarbons that cannot be degradable. And yes, workers are being exposed because not only in the machines, but they are also exposed to these chemicals in the process of transportation. And newspapers are also wasteful because once they are read, they will be discarded away. So why do we keep using newspapers once we have a better, a viable, feasible, existing alternative, which is online news, and there are other sources such as TV, radio, in order to replace newspaper? Why keep using something so bad for our health, something so limited in its ability, when we have another alternative? And that is the point that this house is trying to make, is that newspapers are on its way to become a thing of the past. And does they harm us? No, because we have other solutions. And so with that, I would like to conclude our team's conclusion of our arguments. And thank you, honorable judges, distinguished guests, and other debaters. Thank you for your participation.
You have 45 seconds left.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the last speaker of our negative team. Today we're going to summarize the debate. But before we go into summary of the debate, I would like to emphasize something here. We all admit that, even our fellow debaters admit that we all value the quality of the news, we all value the better reading experience, and we all value the educational element of the newspaper in general. If you agree, please give me applause. And here I want to emphasize that the affirmative has no proof to explain the significant harms of newspaper, and also they don't prove that newspaper are a thing in the past, which is what we are discussing here. And now I'm going to prove my statement by summarizing the debate. There are four main clashes in this debate. The first one is significantly affect whether newspaper affects the environment significantly. Second, whether the newspaper affects the health significantly. And third, whether the popularity of the newspaper relates to this motion. And the fourth one is the quality of the newspaper versus the online news. For the first clash, this team has said that newspaper contains some like cardboard, lead, or something like that, but they give no evidence of people who died for producing newspaper, right? So there's no significant harm here. There's no death which is reported, because if they dead, they don't stop producing newspaper, ladies and gentlemen. The second one, they said that they will use newspaper and they throw it in the trash. They didn't show you. There's no way, because we can recycle it, and we are doing some campaign to recycling, as our teammates have said. And again, there's no significant effect to the environment by the newspaper. And second clash affects the health. They say that the workers can be affected by the transportation or something like that. But that's it makes no sense, because we now have technology. All the publishers have technology. The producing process of the newspaper are using technology, and all of those are just technology with our workers. The workers were just moving. They're moving what? They're moving the box with the newspaper in the box. So where can it affect the workers? And also, as we have said, there's no death because of the publishing industry. And they said about the Airlink, how much, they didn't give us the exact number of the cost of such machine or such technology or something. And we all know that there are very few people in 7 billion people in the world can use that technology. So it takes a lot of time to make newspaper to become a thing of the past, ladies and gentlemen. And now third clash, the popularity of newspaper. They say that 68% of readers shifted from using online newspapers to online news. But actually, they use it because it is free, as we have said. And also, it is not really relevant to the newspaper other thing in the past and in general. Because why? Because 32% people still use newspaper in the thing in the past, and also 76.1% of the Guardian reader say that they still prefer newspaper. So let's say, as classical music, its popularity decreased, but is it not a thing of the past, as they admitted, ladies and gentlemen? So there's no proof to say that newspaper are the thing of the past. It's just, and also as our teammate has said, online news and newspaper are not mutually exclusive and they coexist, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just, and newspaper will change and adapt to the industry by bringing more knowledge and bringing more deep analysis, ladies and gentlemen. So there's no way newspaper are everything in the past. And also the quality of newspaper. They say that they have online news, online supervisor, but they also admit that there are many flaws of online news because there are very few of online supervisors, ladies and gentlemen. And the reality of the newspaper are very much stronger than online news, and it's only biased, so they don't understand anything about the publishing industry, ladies and gentlemen. The rule of publishing is that they have to guarantee the objectivity of the newspapers. So, and also they didn't prove that the biased information can affect the reader. They just assert that they have to prove that the biased information can affect the readers. And also, if they kill the newspaper, so you kill a source of information. And also, online news is also biased information, ladies and gentlemen. And with such proof that newspapers are not a thing in the past, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
但怪兽因为空干的，
再插一下。
结果你发现。
Stopwatch will start and say go. The stopwatch.
来第一题。
懂吗，老弟？
第一题。
你们有点不错。